Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Jeffrey. This is the Inquisitive Universe, and yes, we're going to be talking about the problem with numbers, especially when it comes to smartphones. Problem with numbers. There's problem. There's problem with numbers. Now, numbers are a thing. That's how we live, right? We, as human beings, we have to find a way to rank two things against each other to see what's the way to use now? Between two things, how do you pick one? Let's just put it like that. How do you pick one? And more often than not, we relate with numbers. Numbers help us to quantify which one is more, which one is less. That's why numbers are a big deal. This in smartphones is a thing that's been a thing for a long time, where people just, which phone is this one? This one is phone 8. Which one? This one is phone 9. Phone 8, phone 9, phone 8, phone 9. Phone 9, it should be better than phone 8. Now 9 is more. 9 offers more quantity. You can quantify it. I say, phone 9, phone 8. Phone 9 is the latest one. Let me pick up the phone 9. If people say, these two phones with these two processors, which processor is this one? This one is this number. This one is that number. This number looks heavier. SoC 47, SoC 500, 47, 500. Pick the 500, Jerry. So, whilst this is simple, just using the numbers, this is simple and convenient for many people. Like, why would they have to waste their time following people like me? Of course, I joined them, who spend all this time talking about smartphones this and smartphone that and this one and that one. I don't even understand what you people are saying. I once took a screenshot of our Telegram chat and I sent it to a smartphone noob, and the person had no idea what we're talking about. I was like, is this Greek or is this Latin? But seriously, there are many smartphone noobs who like, I can't be bothered. Why should I be bothered? See this phone here, see this phone here. This phone has this number, this phone has this number. Povo 2, Povo 3. Povo 3 is new one. Pick that one. And for the most part, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It works until it doesn't. That's where the problem is. It works until it doesn't. Now, let me go on and give you 5 reasons. Yeah? In my notes here, I have 5 reasons why this doesn't work and why it's always going to be a problem. Right? 5 major reasons. Now, let's start with the processors. Oh, yes. Those people who, if you follow on Reddit, if you check the community tab on this group, on this YouTube channel, check the community tab on this YouTube channel where I leave posts, because I do write-ups and I just leave it there. I don't have a newsletter yet. Do I? Anyway, I leave posts here on this channel, and I think I've talked about how manufacturers, SoC manufacturers, processor manufacturers tend to confuse people with their naming scheme, and why you should not just blindly follow the naming scheme. And I think I've given examples before of how the Snapdragon 720G is better than the 730 and the 730G. I've done that on here. I've also talked about how the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 is better than the 7S Gen 2. I think I've also done that. Yeah? So that's not just even the only example. There are myriads of examples. Okay, you have the Helio G91 now, which is current. Do you know that the Helio G90T is far better than the Helio G91? But if you go with the numbers and you say, oh, this one is Helio G91 Ultra, this one is Helio G90T, G91, G90T, G91, the G91 is better than the... It does not work like that. That is not how it works. So, if you go blindly and you follow the numbers, you're going to fall prey to this big scam that some of these people take part in. That is one. 2, let's move on. Let's talk about RAM and storage. Now, RAM and storage are important. Storage, of course, it holds everything that you're going to be putting inside the phone, your apps, your games, your files, your pictures, your videos, your whatnot. RAM is a space that works with the CPU. It basically functions as the CPU, the processor memory. So any app that your phone wants to run, your SoC or your CPUs want to run, they will collect it from the internal storage and then load it into the RAM. And then it's from the RAM that it will be processing it and then giving you what you are seeing on your screen. Very important. Many manufacturers for donkey years have tried to mislead us to make us believe that it is the RAM that is responsible for performance, not the SoC. The SoC, what is an SoC? Don't look at that way. Look at this way. RAM, big RAM, 8 gig RAM. Processor, does that exist? When you want to make them do there's one octa-core thing there, octa-core with 1 gigahertz. Don't mind that, don't look at that. 8 gig RAM. They do it all the time, and many people fall prey to this thing that they do. And then, as if that one was not enough, fooling people with big RAM, 4 gig RAM. Okay, 4 gig RAM isn't big anymore. 6 gig RAM, 8 gig RAM. So people are even going as far as 16 gig RAM. Okay. They've gone with, okay, fine. Okay, let me put it like this. The people who make high-end phones, like the Ultras of this world, and the ROGs of this world, and the Nubia Red Magics of this world, and the big Xiaomi phones of this world, they put 12 gig RAM or 16 gig RAM on their devices. They do that. I think even Google has joined the trend of putting big RAM too. Yeah, because that's what many people relate with. It's numbers that they can quantify. Now, since RAM is selling, how do small, low-end manufacturers, how do they match up? Enter expanded RAM. Yeah, so you know what? We can only give you 4 gig RAM, but don't worry. We can carve out, I've done a video on this before, the scam that is called extended RAM. We can carve out 4 gigs of space from your internal storage, right? And they will turn it into a swap space, virtual memory swap space. So you now have 4 gig of normal RAM, 4 gig of swap space. We are selling 8 gig RAM phone for you. 8 gig RAM phone. I've always seen phones with just 2 gig. Do you know how slow 2 gig RAM is in today's day and age? 2 gig RAM with 6 gig RAM of swap space, virtual memory. They are selling it as 8 gig RAM phone, and people are buying. What is the processor on that? Helio G36, Helio G37. But don't worry about that. Don't look at that. Big RAM. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next one. Let's talk about camera resolution. And I think this one is one drum I have beaten to death. I have beaten this one to death. It's good to see that it's still alive in 2024. They are willing to sell 108 megapixel camera for you. 108 megapixel camera. This is 108 megapixel camera. 108 megapixel camera. ISP? What is ISP? Oh, that thing that processes images, that lets you know the amount of resolution of camera that your phone can support. Who cares about ISP? Don't look at ISP. Don't look at ISP. There are Unisoc T606 phones that only support a maximum of 24 megapixel cameras, and they are putting 50 megapixel camera on top. But don't ask those questions. Don't ask those questions. Your favorite reviewers that are reviewing these phones, because that is what you people like. Okay, if you're a long-time viewer of this channel, not you. Any other person who is not a long-time viewer of this channel, you people like, because you people, when you see videos like this, you click away, you move away. You want the one with the latest review where they tell you all these sweet things that you like to hear. Yep, that kind of video is what you people want to hear. So when they start listing impressive numbers for you, you're like, yes, 16 gig RAM, 8 plus 8. Yes, 108 megapixel camera. Yes. What about the ISP and the background? What about the camera sensor? Because there are Chinese-made generic 108 megapixel sensors floating around that are not from Samsung or from OmniVision. Yes, they are. They are floating around. Nobody's asking these questions. The phone get 108 megapixel camera. Boom! I've already done a video about this. Let me not waste too much time here. Let me go on to the next one. Battery size. Now this one is actually fading away because everybody's now offering 5000 mAh battery. The battery size was used once upon a time to compensate for phones that had poor processors that were heating up and they were consuming a lot of battery. So if you were to put a 28 nanometer, a chip with a 28 nanometer process or a 32 nanometer process, for example, back then on a phone in those days that had around 3000 mAh battery, that was the standard. It would tear through that battery, it would burn through it, consume it in a few hours. So in order to compensate for that, they usually put big battery, 5000 mAh, 6000 mAh, so that the effect of the battery the processor running through the battery wouldn't be as pronounced. So that was usually what they did. Remember, if a company wants you to look one way, look at the other way, see what they are trying to hide. And then finally, marketing tricks. Yep. Marketing tricks. These people are always up to no good with these marketing tricks. Now, a lot of companies, I've said this before on my Telegram channel, I've said it here on this YouTube channel in a written post. If you're from Reddit, I've said it on Reddit before. I've said it on Facebook. I will always say it. Smartphone companies, especially the big ones, the Apples of this world, the Xiaomis of this world, the Samsungs of this world, they have an army of psychologists, psychoanalysts, and marketers who study the human psyche and human behavior, so they know what to market and how to get to you in a way that you hardly even realize that you're being manipulated. Yes. So when these people come up with these marketing tricks and they realize that what moves people? Numbers moves people. Of course, they also know that people are classist. There's socioeconomic factors to consider. Some people consider themselves better than everyone else. So give them a product that makes them feel as though they're better than everyone else. The whole Apple versus the whole Android versus iPhone debate. So these companies know these things, and then they are going to leverage on marketing tricks and tactics to get unsuspecting consumers who only want to see the latest smartphone review. Jeff, you know the review phones for us now. That's what people want to see. People don't want to get into the nitty-gritty. They don't want to go through their phones and see what's in there. No, if it's spoiled, I'll buy a new one. Unfortunately. Yeah, so that's the video. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something new, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. It's your actions like this that help small channels like mine grow and reach a lot more people with this message. We're on a mission to wake people up from the matrix. It's not all rosy and dandy out there. It's a jungle where unsuspecting consumers are eaten alive by their favorite companies who just want to make profits and satisfy shareholders at the expense of everything else. So let's keep the message alive. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's doing this. I hope other content creators are still pushing out this message. My name is Jeffrey. I'll see you in the next one.